We're joined once again by John Dole, faculty member at North Carolina State University. Well, John, I understand one of your passions has always been butterfly gardening, is that right?
Oh, yes, yes. I really enjoy butterflies and really enjoy seeing them in my garden.
And so there's a lot of ways we all know to attract butterflies. Like any other animal, they need water, they need shelter, and of course, food, and that's where you come in. You have a really good understanding of some of the plants that we can specifically use to attract butterflies.
That's right, yeah, and you said that well. For the food, we split it into two groups. The nectar sources for the adults.
Correct.
A lot of adult butterflies use nectar as their food. And then, of course, we need the larva host plants, which is the part as gardeners we don't always want to think about because it means caterpillars munching our plants.
Of course.
But if we select the plants well, we're rarely going to have too much difficulty with the caterpillars. But let's go ahead and start with the nectar first.
Okay.
And one of the really good nectar plants is zinnia. And what we've got here is a bed of several different kinds of zinnia, and it shows well the kind of zinnias that you might want to use. We've got the regular tall species called Zinnia elegans.
Okay.
And what has happened over the years is they've crossed this with another species called Zinnia linearis or angustifolia.
Okay.
And produced hybrids.
Okay.
And these hybrids are shorter, and what's really nice about them is they still seem to draw in the butterflies as much as the big ones, but they're a lot less, have a lot less problems with diseases.
Okay.
So what they did was they crossed two species who each had their own problems and produced a hybrid which has relatively few problems.
Okay,
so we like them a lot.
And it's good to know, you hear things that sometimes the hybrids don't have as much nectar and they don't attract butterflies and insects as well, but with the zinnias that's not a problem.
No, that's a good point, and I've heard that as well, and I think that's true in some cases, but with zinnias we've really been watching. In fact, we can see the skippers, they seem to be going on the low stuff just as much as the tall stuff, so it does not seem to have affected them at all.
Okay, wonderful. We have another plant over here that you said is great for butterflies.
This is Pentus, and there's one color here, but you can get it in just about any color. It has these little star-shaped flowers, produces bunches and bunches of them throughout the summer. They handle the heat, they handle the humidity, a little bit of water, and they'll do really great in Oklahoma all summer long. A lot of different colors. And I've got many a photo of monarchs nectaring on Pentus, and so I know they're great for butterflies as well.
Okay, and one of the things about the different plants, the zinnias, we have different sizes. A butterfly garden, of course, should be diverse, and there's larger plants that we could use as well. We have some salvias. Why don't we take a look at some of those?
Okay, great. What we have here are salvias, and salvias are a great plant for butterflies because we've got a lot of different colors. They really seem to be attracted to them. We've got blues, we've got whites, we've got reds. There's a number of native salvias, as well as there's a number of cultivated salvias. And salvia is a group that a lot of plant breeders have been working on, and so we've got just some great colors coming out. And many of them are very good. They handle heat, they handle drought, and they just pump out the flowers during the summer and fall.
And even when it gets hot, we just see them keep blooming in Oklahoma. So
They're
definitely
wonderful.
a good garden plant.
And the other fun thing about especially the red salvias is they draw in hummingbirds. So you get a twofer there.
That's true. What are a few other good plants that we might add to the landscape for butterflies?
A few other good nectar plants. Yeah, the butterfly bush is great. It's a very well named shrub. There are some of the older types which are very tall, and then there's a newer one which has been developed at North Carolina State University called blue chip, and it's the first true dwarf. So if you have a small yard, this would be a great plant to have. Then there are lantanas, long time butterfly plant, and it's still really good. The butterflies just seem to come from forever to fly in and nectar on lantanas. So if you have a small yard, do a lantana, a butterfly bush, one of the dwarf butterfly bushes, zinnia, and then maybe butterfly milkweed, another great native plant. And from there, that leads us into the host plants. Because of course the butterfly milkweed is the host plant for the monarch.
We need to feed the young as well as the adults.
As gardeners, we don't want to admit it that there's things munching on our plants, but I'm afraid that's the deal we have to make. For the adults, you got to have the caterpillars. And for there, just having a good selection of native plants in the yard. A broad range of grasses. There's a number of butterflies, including particularly skippers that use grass as their host plant. Oaks. There's a number of butterflies that use oaks. Poplars, cottonwoods. So there's a broad range of species. So I think having a good selection of native plants is a good way to have the host.
Yeah, and of course there's a few things that are very specific, like the monarch feeding on the milkweed, or swallowtails like to munch some of our garden favorites, don't they?
They sure do, and that's probably where we see butterfly come in conflict with garden. I love dill. I love to grow dill, and in the spring I usually make a deal. I decide how much dill they're going to get for the black swallowtail larva and how much dill I'm going to get. And so I take the caterpillars off my part and put them on their part. Sometimes that works. Sometimes they win. Sometimes I win a little bit more. But it's a really good way to
strike a deal.
That's right, exactly.
There's some other things that we see available: butterfly houses, butterfly feeders. How valuable are those, really?
You know, we'll start with the butterfly houses. They're cute. Some of them are very decorative. They're a lot of fun. And from what we understand, they don't work.
Okay.
The idea was that they would provide shelter and places for the butterflies to roost. They're going to roost under leaves. They tend to roost in bark. So no, we've not really seen them useful. Butterfly feeders, the commercial ones where you put in the sugar water, like with the hummingbird feeder, what I've gotten on those is mostly a lot of ants and wasps, and very rarely a butterfly. What has worked better for me is to make a fruit feeder. Basically a board. You know those old bananas we always forget about?
Yes.
They're perfect. Just cut them open, spread them out, and put them on a board, usually about waist high, so you can keep the animals out of it.
Sure.
And they will draw on all kinds of red-spotted purple, hackberry emperor, tawny emperor. You've even seen viceroys on them. So that's the butterfly feeder that really does work.
Wonderful. And Oklahoma has a huge diversity of butterflies. I think you had a number that startled me. What was it again?
193 different species of butterflies have been recorded in Oklahoma. And it's because Oklahoma has such diversity of landscapes, everything from a little bit of the Rocky Mountains out in the Panhandle to cypress swamps in the southeast. And that's been one of the fun things. It's one of the things I miss from Oklahoma. North Carolina's got a lot of great butterflies as well, but Oklahoma also has a monarch migration, which we have a few coming through here, but in Oklahoma they can come through by the millions, and it's really spectacular.
And late September, early October is a great time to get out and see the monarchs passing through.
Exactly, exactly. Some of the places to go visit. In Oklahoma City, you might want to check out the Oklahoma City Zoo. They have a butterfly garden, plus they have just a lot of great plants around. For Tulsa, the Oxley Nature Center is a good place. There are several folks there that are into butterflies, and they've got a nice selection of habitats, so you can see a wide range. In Stillwater, of course, it's the Oklahoma Botanical Garden and Arboretum, where your set is.
Yeah, we have a nice butterfly garden in our studio.
And yes, when I lived there, I think we were up to 50-some species that we had seen in the area. My guess is now there's probably even more.
Wonderful. Well, John, before we leave, could you share with us a few good resources for those who are interested in butterflies?
Of course. We're going to start with the books. Two friends of mine, Walter Gerard and John Nelson, we got together a few years back. Walter's a great butterfly photographer. John Nelson is a trained lepidopterist butterfly scientist. And so we got together and put together a book, Butterflies of Oklahoma, Kansas, and North Texas. It has primarily the common species. And so pretty much anything you're going to find in a typical garden will be in that book.
Okay.
And that's a good place to start. But we find a lot of people really are getting into butterflies and they want more resources. And from that point, you're going to need to get into one of the other books. The Kaufman series has Butterflies in North America. It has all the butterflies in North America, and it can get a bit daunting to sort through them, but it covers the whole state of Oklahoma. Because Oklahoma has east and west, it has a lot of butterflies. And the Glassberg series has an east and a west. And so there,
We might
No
need-
one book does the whole state, but the East probably covers the most.
Okay, and as an entomologist, I know that identifying butterflies can be very tricky, but it's very rewarding as well.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
There's also a web-based resource that we could look at as well, correct?
Right, the Oklahoma Biological Survey has a website, and John Nelson is continuing, even though he's retired, he's continuing to work with butterflies. And he keeps a list of all the butterflies seen in every county of Oklahoma, and he has by county which species have been seen in each county. So no matter which county in Oklahoma you live, you can see what's been seen there. And then that'll help you narrow down the list of what you're likely to see in your area. So yeah, great. That whole website has just lots of cool stuff, so people should check it out.
Excellent. Well, you've shared some wonderful information with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.